Three balls in. I am PJs. This is Logan, and our favorite co-host, Davo, is here. It's the three-headed monster, the season 4 premiere podcast episode. So much to talk about. So much has changed. The three of us are all the same, but everything around us has changed. Let's jump right into, guys, season 4. Shocked we're back.
Definitely shocked.
No, I'm not shocked. I knew we had season 4 from episode 1, season 1, even when I wasn't even here yet. Davo, thank you for hosting. Appreciate that.
I'm more shocked that we haven't been canceled yet, like by Jubal, by the Five Towns,
by YouTube,
by somebody somewhere. But hey, listen,
when you got Spira and Steven Doonan, our good friend over there, supporting us, I guess we can't go wrong, right? All right. Major breaking news.
That broke.
Well, we can't break it, unfortunately, but major breaking news for those of you not paying attention to Jubal Nation. The draft as we know it has totally changed, totally shifted. Groundbreaking draft status. No longer are the quarterbacks the captains, but the captains are 5 guys who have been all guests on TBI.
I like 5 guys.
All guests on TBI have been instrumental in different parts to what Jubal is in 2024. We've got Kuti, the vet, lineman, former number 2 overall pick in the draft from a few years back. We've got Steve-O, the wizard. Has anyone else contributed to Jubal more than Jordan? Probably up there is Steve-O, right? Then you got some newer talent, like a guy named Prime, who shows up about 6 years ago. No one knew who he was, and look what he's turned into. Prime is not only one of the top players in all of Jubal, but someone who contributes. He's contributed to this show, and he's contributed to Beyond to Jubal.
Ex-MVP.
And an ex-MVP. Great call right there.
Not an ex, just an MVP.
Okay. Then we've got 2 little surprises here. We'll start with our favorite Sesame Street character, none other than Ernie. Ernie is being a captain, very much deserving of being a captain. Very proud of this guy. Showed up to games not knowing if he would play. Did it anyways when he was a rookie. And really showed the way and paved the way for how rookies should act and how rookies should play. Contributes a lot to Klal Yisrael and to Jubal. Really happy that Ernie is a captain. And then finally, the Rook. The Rook, who's been a guest on this show. The Rook, who many say was very instrumental in helping his team last year get to the championship. He is a championship winning player on the Roll Tide. The Rook is a captain.
I'd argue he was the quarterback of the playoff winning game that they played in.
You can't argue it. He was under center.
Yeah.
They just had a strategy where he didn't throw it, but he was officially the quarterback. Guys, initial reactions to this groundbreaking Jubal League season. New captains, new draft coming up.
To say shocking originally when the news first broke would be an understatement. It's a very interesting take on what the Jubal season can and will and should be. But I think everyone enjoys these guys and they like to play with them. They're all good people. They're all good Jubalers mainly. And it's going to be very interesting. I think the draft is going to be wild. And there's no predictability what's going to happen, what's going to be. And I think it should be fun.
Yeah. So as someone who has been against leagues from essentially Jump Street or maybe season 2, whatever it is, I'm still not a fan of leagues, but you have to give, whether it's Jordan and whoever else is part of that committee, you have to give them a ton of credit for some of the ingenuity and some of just the brainstorming that they've come up with. 5 teams, probably the right number. 6 was too many, 4 was too little. So really like that. Love the idea of infusing some new blood, if you will, into the captains. And then I think also just adding intrigue to the draft. I think pretty much before, when you just had quarterbacks drafting, you kind of could figure out, like Davo's mock draft 1 through 7,000 were essentially the same, maybe some later round changes, but for the most part, 1 through, first 3 rounds were, you probably could figure them out pretty easily. Here, you have no idea, when will the run on quarterbacks go? Who's going to wait till, to pick the last quarterback? Who's going to say, I'd rather have position players? It becomes way more interesting. What's more important? It used to be just linemen versus wide receivers. Now it's linemen, quarterback, wide receivers. It just makes draft night that much more interesting and, quite frankly, that much more exciting leading up to it.
I've never been this excited for a draft. I mean, I know the first year we helped host the draft, and when TBI's inception of the show was the draft a few years back. But when you talk about the intrigue of when quarterbacks are going to go in this draft, what the decision making is, you got a guy like Kuti who is a top tier lineman. Does he need another lineman with him? Is that what he's thinking early on in the draft? Does he want to go back end defense, top wide receiver with his second pick, or his first pick being Prey? You'll get to that in your mock draft later. There's so much intrigue in what everyone's going to do. I don't think the captains even know what they're going to do. Like, past round one, they probably all know what they're going to do round one. After round one, they're probably just like, whoever falls, whoever's left, that's what I'm going to take. Best available talent. And where did like you said it, when did the quarterbacks get taken? I think we all feel like Prey's going to be off the board pretty early because it's Prey. He's not only one of the best defenders, but maybe the best quarterback in Jubal, and he's the championship winning quarterback also. Like, there's just so much. Yeah, that's true. Like, there's just so much intrigue here. I didn't think leagues was dead last year. I just thought the mood after leagues last year was so down. Listen, undefeated team, congratulations again, but an undefeated team is great, but the competition was just so, like, it never felt like it was any competition against you guys. It just felt like the league was, once Gronk got hurt, cronies were done.
Snow also getting hurt wasn't helpful.
Yeah, that didn't help, and Perla got hurt, but
did he?
but I'll give you, like,
please explain.
But I will say this: I think it also takes the monkey off the back of the quarterbacks. No longer are they responsible for drafting, strategizing. Like, they can just focus on being a quarterback, not having to worry about rotations, not have to worry about who's going to play where. It's now someone else's responsibility to make sure everyone gets equal playing time, or is communicating to the people who may or maybe not needed that week. So it's not on the quarterback, like the quarterback is biased or the quarterback wants this person to play, that person to play. I think ultimately this is going to be the best thing for the bench players, guys who are not who are starting off on the bench, but also great, I think, for the top tier players, knowing that it's not the quarterback making the decisions, that it's maybe more of a team-oriented decision-making, because I think a lot of these guys are like that. They're just team-oriented players.
One thing that I'll say that I completely disagree with that you just said
Sure.
is I do not think round one, and we'll dive into this a little bit later in the episode, but I don't think round one is decided at all. I think pick number one is decided, and I think that's right at, like, pick two is really where the draft starts, similar to the NFL. And quite frankly, I don't think any of these captains know what they're going to do, because a lot of the picks right before them will dictate that. If someone goes quarterback early, that may force other players to go quarterback early. If someone goes lineman early, wide receiver, ice, like, that'll dictate what happens after that. And so I think first round, Davo's 38 drafts that we've seen so far all have different first round orders, different players.
Well,
it's all intriguing.
I think it's time to segue into Davo's mock draft version 9,900,350. Davo, take it over.
Alrighty, guys. Thank you to my co-host for commenting how many number of mock drafts I made. Well, it's really just number 4.
I totally disagree. It's definitely,
It was like 44, maybe.
no, it's mock draft 69.2.
Hey, listen, good number to stop at. So let's start with the first pick. Let's talk about it for 1 second. As you guys have mentioned, Prey and all the accolades, 2-time MVP, 2-time champion. Some would say that he created a dynasty and should have went to 4 straight championships, minus a phantom call. Sorry about that, brother. But
PG remembers him going to 3 straight.
right. Listen, it was in the hands of people to put a 4 straight, but he didn't. So again, you're talking about a dynasty that he created, essentially. On the other hand, you're talking about probably the most dynamic player that Jubal has seen at least in recent memory, if not ever, in Zin. I don't want to say he single-handedly willed the Crocs to the championship, but he was definitely the driving factor. You know, Charles Barkley likes to talk about the bus driver. He is the bus driver. And it's very hard decision. Which one do you take? Do you take, the MVP, or do you take the
Future, maybe the future MVP.
for sure. I think this is actually the year that he does it, especially if he wills his team to a league championship. But to me, in my mind, and in the insider info that I try to get, I think you have to take none other than Hingle McPrinkleberry, Schellenprager, number one.
No surprise there. I think Davo's got it right. How do you pass on the best quarterback, rating MVP, and championship winner? I mean, it just makes sense. If he's not the best defender, he's the second best defender in terms of being a safety.
It's absurd. There in my head, there's no question. Sorry, Zin, you're a phenomenal talent, you're a phenomenal player, but because he plays both premier spots, free safety, either 1A, 1B, and quarterback, head and shoulders above the rest, it's not even a question in my head. Bray must go number one. If he doesn't, well, let's not talk about previous drafts, but I think that you must take Bray number one. It's not even a question. And if you don't, you'll regret it.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the other piece of it is that Kuti has a distinct advantage, not necessarily draft order, but the fact that he's the lineman.
Sure.
I think that puts like him not being forced to worry about line as early as other teams, I think is a distinct leg up. Then he gets to pick his quarterback. They're kind of set. They like Prey can deal with, in quotes, lower tier wide receiver ones better than just about anyone outside of one other quarterback. But I think it's a no-brainer. Prey's got to go number one.
Davo, who's the next pick?
Unfortunately for Rook, his consolation prize of missing out on Prey is he gets to take Zin. And I think that, like, if you're starting a team, if you're not going to take Prager, then you're going to take Zin. And you're talking about the best wide receiver. You're talking about probably the best defensive player, at least in the secondary. You're talking about a guy who's all over the field, a guy who's a leader. He's a motivator. He's a great team player, and it's a great way to start.
Okay, so I think in theory I agree with this pick, and I agree with your decision here. But I would say that Rook is a corner, and he's actually a really good corner. Like, guy has statistically a lot of interceptions, at least the last 2 years. He's been up there, and he's one of the top leaders in INTs and touchdowns as a receiver. I don't know. I kind of feel like your top tier lineman, remember, this is a snake draft. He's not going to get the top tier lineman the second time around, right? He's going to be picked number 9. He's 2 and 9. So I kind of feel like maybe here you go open or you go DK. Again, I'm not apologizing for saying that. I really do think Zin is a number 2 pick. He's a number 2 overall player in Drew Ball. But I think there's some strategy here where you're going to lose out on the top tier lineman. Whereas maybe at pick number 9, you can get someone not like on Zin level in terms of back end defense and wide receiver, but someone who is serviceable, but having a top lineman. Logan?
I know what you're saying, but I hate what you're saying.
Sure.
For
okay.
me, it's Zin, and it's not even a question. I know that Open's great, but if you can lock down the best receiver in the game, one of the best, if not the best defenders in the game, your defense is that much better. I know Open's a great lineman, but you can fill in 2, lower tier linemen and still have great production. And not have to use your first round pick on a lineman.
Again, I'm not saying Zin is number 2 to me. I'm just saying you could make the argument that you're going to lose out on the top lineman, but what you're saying makes a lot of sense. Davo, third pick.
Well, PJs, just to really boost your lineman thinking, with the third pick, I say Prime is going to take the Iceman, because again, yes, linemen are great and they're very needed in this game. I think guys like Zin and guys like Ice give you intangibles that no other player can take. I think you're taking the top 2 receivers in Zin and then Yoni, and they're tier 2 above the rest of the receivers, and it puts you on a different level offensively and defensively. You're talking about a 1-1 with Zin, or top 1A, 1B was in. And with Yoni, you're talking about the same thing. You're talking about a guy who's all over the field, making tackles, pulling flags, instilling fear into the hearts of wide receivers and quarterbacks everywhere.
Yeah, I know.
Huge pickup, huge missile man. Great play.
No, I appreciate your third pick there. I think that actually does make sense because you've now locked down both sides of your defense. Meaning you now have two corners, two of the best corners of all of Drew Ball. Or Icy can even shift over and play linebacker. Like that's how good he is. No, I agree. I'm just saying, but he could if you needed him there. But two top corners right there. You just locked down the two best receivers. You're making your again, anyone can play safety at this point because you know that those receivers are done. Great pick there. I mean, I agree with you, Davo. That if that's what Prime does on draft night, I think he got himself a steal.
Yeah, I think this is a really tough decision. But I do think Iceman is the right decision here. It enables Prime, who is already going to lead a physical team, to become that much more physical, as Prey knows all too well. So yeah, no, I think both from a defensive perspective, both from just I think the way that this team is going to be built to win games, they're going to win it on the physicality side. I think Iceman's the right move for Prime.
Next pick.
We come to Steve-O. Here you go. I think you take best available, but you also have to keep in mind that now you're coming around the bend, around the snake. So you have to really kind of think about what your next pick is going to take here also. You know, you have Open and DK on the board.
Quarterbacks also.
Quarterbacks are going to be coming up, right? Because you're going to have you have 4 left, and everybody's going to try to get one. So you want to be able to make. And I think the person that's left on the board that gives any quarterback the most the easiest time to play with, I'm a big fan of him, is you got to go Open. He gives you stability on the offensive line, meaning if, right, like you said, you're not going to come back to lineman again. You might not get that next tier lineman, but when next to Open, you know, you can think something more about a tight end, a pass catching tight end, than necessarily a blocker, because you know that Open is a stud. He's a stud on the defensive line as well. You know, he's always going to bring pressure. He makes a smart play. He makes the right play. He's always in the right place at the right time. And I know I said a lot, but he's a stud.
Yeah, I mean, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah, I got nothing to add. Open's the right call.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing really.
And this is who's gonna be left at number 4. I think you go that direction.
Yeah.
And then finally rounding out the drafts,
And that,
Ernie.
With the final pick, Ernie, the captain of the Rubber Duckies, he has to go, obviously, DK. I mean, if you want to say that the 5th and 6th pick can be interchangeable, sure. But I think you know, if you're going with the best available player, it's DK. And I see really these 4 position players, Zin and Ice, Open and DK, they can all be interchangeable essentially. You want to say Zin can go 2, number 1, be better than them, sure. But all of them can play a certain role with each team on how you want to build it. DK is an absolute monster on the defensive line. As a tight end, he's very good. He has an unlimited motor where he's chasing down wide receivers halfway down the field.
He does.
He's a monster, and according to everyone who played preseason, he's only gotten stronger, faster, better. I think he's gonna have an incredible season.
So yeah, I like the DK pick here. Again, best available. I think Davo nailed it, right? That should be the first 5. Logan, you agree?
No, I have no comments there. I think Ernie and the Rubber Duckies will be thrilled if DK falls to them at the 5th pick.
All right, let's snake this around. Back to Ernie. Davo, who do you think goes to number 6?
Now you have the quarterback sitting. I think now you go on the run. Ernie won a championship with Prey, won a championship with Dax. Prey's not available. He takes the quarterback that he's comfortable with, won the champion with. But he would have taken your own with his next pick. But with this pick, he'll pick Dax.
Yeah, I don't know. I to me, it's, do you believe Dax is the second best quarterback? If you do, and you feel like this is your biggest need right now, because you have Ernie can play corner, DK at line, now you need corner, and then you need quarterback, but Dax doesn't like playing defense. So I don't know. Maybe I would go Gronk here. Like just my personal opinion.
Yeah,
Like
I
because
don't.
Gronk is honestly, if he's not the best defender in Jubal, because maybe you say Prey and Zinner, then he's number 3.
Yeah, I think that's the wrong move. I think Dax is not the third best quarterback. I think Gronk is, from a quarterback perspective, a better quarterback. He's proven that he can win with a lesser line and with just about any receivers you give him. I think
Definitely
he's
not a lesser line.
well, what do you mean? Last year he didn't have a great line.
Yeah, but he didn't win last year.
Well, he got injured, but anyway. But again, I just think that we've seen Gronk win with basically any team thrown at him. He can make third and fourth string receivers, look like first and second ones. And his defense is phenomenal, especially if you're only drafting 8 guys. To have a quarterback who's not going to play defense, I think is a huge issue in the second round.
So I think we're on the same page here.
I would take Gronk. If you're going quarterback, I think Gronk was the right.
And just think about your defense, right? Like Dax will play defense sometimes, but he doesn't want to play defense. And again, I'm not sure he's the second best quarterback. Again, it's hard to say. He didn't have a best season last year when he was on a roll tide. So I think it's a little suspect, but I hear where you're coming from. So where does Steve go next, Devo?
Well, you guys, just buffed him up. I think Steve goes Gronk. He's got the lineman, he's got the beginning part of the team, and now, like you said, Gronk can play with third and fourth string receivers and make them great. So you got already the beginning of a great line, and now you could put some good receivers, another good lineman on, and you could build a great team.
If you're right and Ernie goes Dax, then this is the right pick for Steve-O.
Yeah, so in a scenario where Dax goes 6, it's a no-brainer. You grab Gronk at 7. However, if rubber duckies go with Gronk, I think legs is the right move. You get a line of open and legs. We've seen how much they can wreak havoc on the field. I think you go there, and then you're left with a lesser, in quotes, quarterback, but quite frankly, that line should be able to support any quarterback.
So I disagree. I think you still go quarterback here because I think having the right quarterback means the world.
So
right?
I'm going to say something. We try not to bash people. I think of the 5 quarterbacks, Fight is the worst. It's not. I don't. I like the guy, but I think playing wise, he's going to be the worst. I would rather have the worst quarterback and the best line than have Dax with a mediocre line. I think
it's not going to be a mediocre line. He's got open in front of him who he has familiarity with.
But you're not going to get a line like you're going to lose.
I think you could get in the 3rd or 4th round, and then you end up whatever.
But I'm just saying. I think in that scenario, you want to solidify your line. You don't know you want to solidify your line. You don't know there could be a run on quarterbacks.
Listen,
you might
Steve-O could go. I want Yaron instead. Like if you're because Yaron does play D, and again, I wouldn't put Yaron necessarily right now ahead of Dax. Ahead of Dax. But again, I think Steve-O has to go quarterback here. My personal opinion is I'm not saying I agree with you about your fight assessment.
You don't agree with me.
I'm not saying I don't agree with you about your fight assessment, but I would say right here, got to go best quarterback. That's just my opinion. This is your time to get your quarterback. You're not drafting again until 14. Right now, get your quarterback. David, who's your next pick?
So now you come to Prime, and here's the question. Does Prime think like PJs or does Prime think like Logan? Do I need to get the best quarterback available? Do I need to get the best player available? I think that he goes back to his 193 days. He has the connection with Yaron. People want to win Yaron a championship. You have already two great receivers. You have 2 good corners. You have the making of a great defense. You have the making of a great offense. You put Yaron in there. I think Yaron doesn't have to worry about drafting people. Yaron doesn't have to worry about, being the captain. He can just play football, not think, just throw the ball. And like you said, you have 2 great guys to throw it to already.
Listen, if
it might be his best chance to win.
If Prime ends up with Yaron and Iceman, this would be the best situation for Yaron. It's bully ball football. He can literally just screen it every time to one of those guys. And those are the hardest guys to grab flags from. I would not want to play that team. That's just my opinion. If he can end up with Yaron here, because I do believe you go best available quarterback, that is a scary team. Luke?
Yeah, I'd agree. And also, Yaron has proven that he doesn't need that top-tier line in order to perform well. He gets the ball out really, really quick. So I think Yaron would be the right pick for those guys. Yeah.
Maybe you're right. This would be his chance. Again, depending on how Prime drafts after this point, this could be his best chance to win. Maybe the best talent he's ever had.
All right, let's finish up the second round. But before we get to the last pick of it, we have Rook. Rook already took Zin. I know PJ's complaining that he really should take a lineman. So why not let's give Rook a lineman right here. Let's give him legs. We're talking about, that next tier. Legs is a good tight end. He's a good blocker. He's relentless on the defensive end. I think if you know that your quarterback's going to be fight now, let's get him a line. Let's get him
That's a
as
fair
many
point.
weapons as we can get him. So I think you have Zin, you have legs, you have the making of a good team.
I listen, I think if Rook, again, if he ends up with legs, I take back what I said earlier, because you're talking about having Zin and legs and Rook,
On defense.
that's a really good defense. Now, the issue is going to be offense, but that's a choice Rook is going to make. Maybe Rook at number 2 doesn't go Zin. Maybe he goes quarterback. That's something he's going to have to think back on his draft and figure out, like, what do I want to do at number 2? Do I want to take the best quarterback there? Do I want to take a Gronk or take a Dak? So I'm familiarity with the roll tide. Or is Zin the backup quarterback for your team? Meaning,
if Zin has to play quarterback on that team, they've lost.
But I'm just saying, like, is that your thinking also? Whereas I'm okay, I could draft a quarterback last round, go last round quarterback, take best available talent. If I have legs here and I'm getting the 11th pick, the 12th pick, I think this is the right move.
Yeah, I would agree that it's the right move. And quite frankly, he's almost now, it's his advantage that he's getting the last quarterback of the quarterbacks, because he doesn't need to use a top pick on the quarterback. He literally gets to pick him last in the draft. So now every single round, he's essentially a leg up on everyone else.
Correct.
So I think, I do think legs is the right move. And I do think it's somewhat of an advantage to not have to worry about your quarterback in the early rounds.
But this is a good start for Rook's team, Zin and legs. And how does the round 2 round out?
So let's round out round 2 and start round 3. We're going to put 10 and 11 together. Trey already has one lineman in front of him because he has Kuti. So Kuti now thinks that I have the quarterback. Let me get some receivers. Why not take the best 2 left on the board? He takes Mighty and he takes Sharf. So you're adding speed to your team. You're adding receivers. You're adding great team guys, good guys on the field. You're bolstering your defense and your offense at the same time with two good two-way players.
Davo, I can't think of 2 other players he would draft right here. I can't think of somebody else I would say, no, you should put this person here. Both of them are great defenders, great offensive receivers. Again, a guy like Prey can get the ball out fast and quick, and he can move. He just needs guys who he can work with. These are the right 2 picks.
I would like to see him add. Well, I don't disagree. I think those are really, really good. Mighty plays a position on defense that's already kind of filled. It does feel a little redundant. I know he needs a wide receiver 1, but quite frankly, Sharf can fill that. There's a couple other options there. Like,
no, but
PK is available, Storm is available. Like, you could go wide receiver 1 and fill another lineman and just solidify that front 4, especially with front 2, but the ones that you'd be going up against, but I don't hate the pick.
But Prey could move up and play linebacker or corner. And
you don't want Prey.
Mighty can move to linebacker.
Yeah, listen,
Mighty can move to corner.
Again, you're giving yourself the opportunity to do a lot of creativity here.
I like I said, I don't hate the pick. I just think that he has a lot of flexibility with this.
No, I agree. I don't think you'll let Mighty pass 10 and 11. I think could you maybe substitute somebody out there? Fine, but I don't think you'll let Mighty pass. You also take a safety away from the league.
This may be lighting some fire under Mighty, but he's been injured the last half of both the past 2 seasons. So you just worry about availability. He might be the player with the best ability, but you also worry about availability.
Listen, he might get hurt, but he's the guy who always plays, unless it's 9:30. Next pick, go back to Rook.
So you got Zen, you got legs, you got fight down the line, right? So you're ready to know. Why not swing for the fences? Take the biggest question in the draft. You got to grab Solo. You put two linemen together that are vicious, that are angry. You have the best 2-way player on your team. Swing for the fences. Take Solo. Make sure he gets there on time. Make sure he shows up. Make sure he plays hard. And that's a monster team already started. Zin, legs, Solo
and legs. That would be great. Logan?
Look, if Solo can guarantee that he'll play all 6 games and he'll play 10 Jewel Bowl games and play in the playoffs, I think it's a phenomenal pick and it will set fight up really, really nice. I think that's a huge if, and quite frankly, probably too big of a risk in the third round.
Yeah, but you'd have to communicate with Solo ahead of time, knowing
Even
he's
so,
you know he's committing.
I don't think Solo ever misses games maliciously or intentionally. I think it's just stuff comes up and he's super busy, both with tax season and with just
Listen,
personal life.
there's
I worry about
there
it.
is something we didn't mention in our opening, which is one new change also to leagues this year is that it happens every week just at 8 a.m.
I know
So
it's
that
harder for some.
that's why I'm agreeing with you here. I think that actually makes things more complicated. You got to commit him to 8 a.m.
If we look back on the season and he played 12 games and he played every league game and he plays in the playoffs, then it's a genius pick in the third round and it's a steal. But I would worry about not having your third pick of the draft available every single. Now we're back to
okay. Now let's go to Prime's pick at number 13. Who's he going with? According to Davo's mock draft.
I really liked what Logan said, and we kind of are on the same wavelength that Yaron has always built a team of guys that he thought he could play with, thought that fit him well, but I don't want to say they're on the softer side, but let's just say Sharman was not the only nickname that could have been given to some of these guys. So he's got Prime, he's got Ice, he's got probably two of the toughest guys in Jubal. Why not get another tough guy? We're talking about the guy that came last year a few times. Tommy Guns. He's a tough, strong, physical guy. He's going to add something to that defense. He's going to add something to that offense. He's going to be able to run the ball, ground and pound. And I think it's just he's a good receiver, he's a good defender. I would pick Tommy.
I don't think I agree with this pick, Dave.
I know I don't.
I like Tommy. I played with Tommy last year. Really good player, a lot of energy, can go after the ball, can track some flags. But here's the thing: if I'm going, I already have Iceman, I already have Prime, I already have your own. I want a really, really good third option, a receiver, a guy who's really a number one, also an MVP. I'm going Johnny Storm here. I think Johnny Storm, he could play safety for you. He can help arrange your defense differently. I think, again, I like Tommy, but I think Storm is a better talent and a better placement here, and the familiarity with your own and Prime. I gotta go Storm.
I'm going to disagree with Dave. I happen to really like Tommy both as a player and as a person. Kind of been in some chats with him. He's a really good guy and he's a great addition to Jubal. We're thrilled to have him. But I think Tommy in the third round is a reach. I think that there's much better options. You definitely could go with Storm. I think BK fits in better. He's much more of a physical player. He'll add, additional physicality to a team that's already ridiculously physical. If you really wanted to go crazy, you could start thinking about a line, but quite frankly, I think that's also a little too early for them.
Yeah.
But I think guys like BK, Ivory, if you knew he was going to be healthy, and even potentially Goldberg to give them a little bit of height. Yaron loves his tall guys. I think those are better options than Tommy. Again, not a knock on Tommy at all, but I just think that in the third round, it's not the right fit.
So I'm going to argue this point just a little bit. I hear what you're saying, Logan, but here's the issue, right? A guy like BK would fit in well. What position is BK best at?
Corner or middle linebacker?
Right. So his best position is corner. What do you already have two of?
Yeah, but if you have him as safety, which he could do, or he could play middle linebacker with Yaron.
Yeah, he could play, but it's not his best position. This way, I know that I'm putting Tommy in the middle. I'm putting a little pressure up the middle. A guy like Ivry or a guy like Goldberg, fantastic players, yes. But the question is, can they be healthy? What's their availability? How much are they going to play? Are they going to be able to play both ways? Are they going to get hurt? Are they,
I think if you don't have
the question is that you want to put the best player availability wise, yes, and I think something that's going to fit your system.
Going back to Steve-O.
So, like I said, we know he has open, we know he has Gronk, so his defense is in the middle is kind of set. Steve-O is great out on the island. You have one cornerback that's kind of set. Why not take someone not necessarily forgotten, but forgotten how good he is at cornerback? I'm going with Ivry. He's a fantastic receiver. Gronk, something that Gronk doesn't necessarily need, but he would love to have. He's going to have time to throw it to him, time to get him the ball because he's going to have open blocking for him. If Ivry's healthy and Ivry can play and get himself eligible, you're talking about a potential top 5 or 6 position player that's falling to you at 14. It's a tremendous pick if he can be there and be healthy.
Logue?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the big if I think Ivry could be a round 2 pick, but again, it's the if of health. If we knew for sure he was healthy, I love the pick. If you don't know that he's healthy, then you have a couple of more, if you will, consistent type players that play the same roles: BK, Storm, Goldberg, Zada. Like I think those guys
Yeah.
can all fill in the same. But again, if you knew that Ivry was healthy, he's a slam dunk in the 3rd round.
I tend to agree with you here. I could see Ivry at this pick. The question is whether Ivry's healthy or not. Again, last year he proved himself to play, I think, almost every game, but he also was on a team that was very stacked. So he was able to take some rest time. And yeah, listen, I can't argue against your pick. So let's move on to the next one. The final pick of the 3rd round, which is where we'll end your mock draft right here. Those of you who want more of the mock draft, you'll have to subscribe to the OnlyFans, Davo's OnlyFans. Spira didn't get the access he wanted yet, but he can still pay for the premium if he needs it.
And
Let's
that's how
go.
we got canceled. Well, let's finish it up. The Rubber Duckies, DK, Dax, Logan, you finally got it. BK. You're talking about you have Ernie on one side, BK on the other, DK in the middle. I think he's a good receiver. He's a better defender, and I think the key of winning leagues is actually your defense more than your offense. People will score, but by creating turnovers, you get better field position, and I think he's probably the best defensive player left on the board. That fills a need for the Rubber Duckies.
And I think here Dax does need a receiver. The question is, does Ernie think that BK is the right receiver for Dax? I agree with corner receiver in this position right here in the draft. The question is, does again, when Ernie's making this choice here, does he believe that BK and Dax can mesh and work well together? If he does, I can't argue the pick. If he's nervous, maybe he goes with a guy like Azada. You know, again, you mentioned Zada previously, so I think a guy like Zada can move into here. Or do you go a guy like Goldberg who gives Dax a tall, speedy guy who could also play the middle defense? Again, I could go those two places there. If you believe that Ernie's got a team that they can mesh well together, then you go BK. If you want someone who's a little more veteranish, I think you go Zada or Goldberg.
Yeah, no, quite frankly, if the draft falls the way that Davo has predicted, I love BK in this spot. He's a really, really precise route runner, so I think that he could kind of fill in that Morty Dax-esque type receiver that Dax loves to kind of rely on. Someone who he knows if he gives him a route, he's going to run it precisely. I think BK is a good spot here. Storm's another receiver who also runs really, really tight routes, so he might be a good fit, but I definitely think both of those guys could play with Dax and that they would gel well. Both of those guys are guys that Dax would really enjoy throwing to.
Now, here's the best part about this mock draft. I guarantee you, as hard as Davo has researched,
it's already changed.
Yeah, the reality is that in a few days from now, we have no idea what the draft is going to look like, what the captains end up doing. We wish the captains a lot of luck. This is a new concept. I think it's breathed the right life into Jubal. And with that said, speaking of the draft that we're all super excited for, it's time to bring back 3 Stats in Draft Edition. Davo, take us away.
Man, you guys got me working hard on this first episode back.
Listen, you got to prove yourself here. Let's go,
right, man. It's all front loaded. It's fine.
Perfect. Listen, some of us are playing. We're actually gonna have to take breaks.
Listen,
some of us are playing.
Oh, playing.
Here's the thing. Big E's Hug of the Week is going to take over most of your time this season. So get it in now.
Frame makers, baby. We have 3 questions for today's 3 stats, and they're all about the draft.
Would love it.
We're doing a draft friendly show. We're gonna start up with a semi meatball, I think, and then we're gonna get a little harder.
We'll get it wrong. Yeah.
Logan's keeping score, guys. You can keep score at home with yourselves. Try to answer. We'll try
play
to
with yourselves. We recommend it. It's a win-win opportunity.
Let's start with the semi meatball here. Who was the first rookie drafted in leagues?
Now, are we including the Sukkah Hop draft with Prey?
The year of the Assman, we're not counting, right?
I just want to make sure the Sukkah Hop
I don't think there were any rookies there anyways.
Okay.
Well, 193 was made up of basically all rookies.
And I don't think any of them stuck
Fine.
except for Stung, but then
So-
he had to come back as a rookie.
So we're
So
so
it's
we're
year 2.
we're going Bob. We're going not
No,
Bob
the year
Shed.
the Cronies won.
Correct. We're going cronies till last season, which was Bob.
Oh,
So
yeah.
cronies
So
to Bob. So 3
the
years.
Who was the first rookie picked in a draft? The
I mean,
first year was just
obviously
divvied up
Zinn
seasons.
was picked 4th, and he was a rookie that year. You have to think if anyone was before that. So,
A
like,
rookie.
was Solo a rookie the year that Gronk took him on
No,
cronies?
no.
I don't know. I'll go with Zinn just because he's the first one that came to mind. And he said it was a meatball.
Well, the year before, we did not include the rookies. So Ernie.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, those are all additions.
We only had rookies because
So-
Dax was quarterback. It
so
had to have been that year. So Zinn
I
had to
think
be.
you're right. I think it's Zen. We're going with Zen also.
Was there anyone drafted before Zinn?
That season.
I mean, yeah, 3 guys were.
Yeah,
I don't think
Zen
any
was the
of them were
fourth.
rookies.
Zen was the fourth pick.
Who were the? Let's think. So, I don't even know.
Oh my gosh,
Singer
DK.
was picked before.
Yaron took DK.
Oh, then
It was DK. I changed. Thank you, Dave. Well, do I
Oh, you
still get
can't
credit?
change
No,
it.
you can't.
Oh,
Answer is DK.
oh my gosh,
Damn.
As I said, as a semi meatball.
that was
You didn't call it a set. I have a semi, but that wasn't a semi meatball.
I called it a semi meatball. You check the tape.
You know what?
It's a
You
good
know
question,
what?
though.
I like
I
that
do.
question.
Because Zinn was the obvious answer, so therefore that's what makes it a good question. Keep going. Number 2.
Okay, so this question is going to take into account the last 3 drafts, so not the Sukkah draft. Okay,
Yep.
so one where people
real
are actually
ones.
picked. Correct. Which player has been a top 5 pick every season?
Which player has been a top 5 pick every
So, for example,
season?
Zinn wasn't around the year
Correct.
before, so he's not included.
Correct.
And Munch wasn't around in the most recent draft,
Correct.
so he can't be included. So, top 5.
Solo.
I think Goldberg was a top 5
Nope.
every year.
Nope. Solo.
Okay.
Solo was the 5th pick the second year.
Well, so 1 second. Sorry, you mean top 5? I thought you meant within the 5 round. Like
No.
five rounds.
Within the first 5 picks. It's Solo.
first
sorry,
five
sorry,
picks.
It's Solo.
Is it
Yep.
every year? So let's see. In the first year of the real draft, Gronk got him with the 5th pick.
Munch. Yeah, you got
Right,
Munch with the
because
first
before
and
then-
Solo with the
okay.
5th.
The next year,
Solo was taken by Prey.
okay, so it was definitely in the first round.
And then the year after, Perla picked
I'll go.
him.
I like Perla pick. Yeah, I like Solo.
The correct answer is Solo.
Nicely
Oh,
done,
yeah.
DJs. I don't think I would have gotten that on my own, but nicely done.
Heidi was the 6th pick, the 5th pick, and the 4th pick.
Right.
So it's just
Right.
outside.
Right. He was taken by not Fight Club, but the
Top Gun.
the
Top
Top
Gun.
Guns, right, with the 6th pick.
We all try to figure.
Okay. This is again, we're talking about the drafts.
Sure.
So the one that actually happened that we were privy to. Which player was drafted in the same round of each draft?
Was it Jordan? Is Jordan in the same round every year?
And bonus
No,
points if
no.
you get the round.
No. Ooh. Same round every year.
It's got to be someone like Zada, who's middle of that range. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's Goldberg, 3rd round.
Did he The problem is when we had the 6-team draft, it threw things off.
I think Goldberg, 3rd round.
So let's think. Cronies picked. He was
was
Gronk's 3rd pick.
He was Gronk's 3rd pick.
An interesting call. Just for fun, I'll go with someone else just because
Sure.
I'll go with Zada, but sure.
You want to throw a round out?
Oh, Zada was probably. I'll go 4th.
Good guesses.
I guess we're wrong.
you are. The correct answer is.
Oh, wait, hold on 1 second. Oh, Open wasn't there. I was gonna say
No.
because it could have been someone in the first round.
No.
No, someone could have been in the first round each year, but anyway, it's not because anyway, yeah, I was keep going. Who do we got?
Stella in the 6th round.
Damn it, he was literally the other person I was thinking of.
Wow.
Close, but
That's exactly. I was like, it's gotta
Wow.
be someone like Zada. And in my head, I was
Wow.
like, or Stella.
very good.
Wow.
Zada was picked in the
1
4th
for 2.
round.
That's pretty.
Zada was picked in the 4th
standard
round
for me.
twice, and the 3rd round once.
Oh, Lionheart's picked him in the third.
Yeah.
And what about Goldberg?
And Goldberg was picked in the second last season.
Oh,
Because, again, 16. So like it
Oh,
pushed
man.
everyone earlier.
that's good stuff.
That's good.
And that's a steal.
Gave up.
That's a steal in the sixth, also, Estella.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So when I posted him, and Goldberg said Stella lands in the sixth. That's what he does. He lands in the sixth and he plays in championship.
What's funny is that he lands in the sixth, both in a 14 draft and in a 16 draft.
All right, this was exciting. This was fun. It's good to be back with my co-host here. It's good to be in TBI. I'm saddened to say this season I'll be lesser on the field like Logan. You'll probably play a lot more than I will this season.
That's hard.
But well, that's the goal this season. But
Playing football or playing with yourself?
Oh, that I definitely.
Well,
I'd be both of you.
It's exciting that TBI is back. We can't wait for draft night when we get the opportunity for the second year in a row to announce each of the picks. We promise you it will be exciting. It will be fun. Gentlemen, what are we?
3 balls in.
And we are now 3 balls out. See you Monday night in Rabin's backyard.
Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to sign up for week 1. Don't forget to sign up for the Drew Ball draft party. Please bring something. Don't be that guy. And as always,
by the way, Rabin's backyard is not an innuendo. It's literally his backyard.
Have a great week, everybody.
and don't eat anything unlabeled unless you know.